Namaste. In this video, we're going to focus on Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 1.24. In this sutra, he has explained to us what is the role of the Ishwar and how do we understand the concept of Ishwar a little bit better. So let's dive into the sutra and understand it a little bit better. The sutra itself goes, Klesha karma vipakashayaira paramrishtha purusha vishesha ishvaraha. Let's hear that sutra one more time since it's a little bit long. Klesha karma vipakashayaira paramrishtha purusha vishesha ishvaraha. Alright. Now, let's break up each of the words a little further and start understanding them a little better. The first word over here is klesh, and klesh refers to something that causes us pain or there is a pain-causing element. The second word over here is being told to us as karma, and that is a very common word that we use in English as well as in Hindi, which refers to the action or the karma that we have. And then we come to vipaka. Vipak over here is referring to the maturation or the maturing of that particular karma. Then we come to ashaya, which refers to the storehouse, and it's referring to the storehouse of the karma. Then we come to just the syllable ra or the sound ra that you hear after ashaya in this sutra. And this ra is referring to by. It's just a sound that has been added or a syllable to help us understand that by all of these previous words. And then we come to the next word, which is referring to aparamrishtaha. Now this particular word is talking about something that is not affected or not afflicted. And then finally we come to the word purusha, which is the primordial element of Purusha. And we've learned this in previous sutras. Purusha and Prakriti are the two primordial elements. And then we come to the next word, which is Visheshaha. And this means special. And the final word, of course, is Ishvaraha, which is talking about the concept of Ishwar. So now that we have all of this information, let's try to understand what the sutra means as a whole. So the sutra is saying that Ishwar is such an entity which does not get affected by the kleshas or the pain-causing elements, which does not get affected by karma, which does not get affected by the maturing of that karma, does not have a storehouse of that karma, and also is not afflicted by any of these things put together. And such an entity is a very special version of the Purusha element, and therefore we call it Ishwara. So now that we know the overall meaning, let's go a little bit deeper. So why is Muni Patanjali explaining this to us? It's because in the previous sutra we saw that very often Ishwara is associated with the word God. It's given a quality of divinity, and very often we use it loosely as just God or the divine. But in this particular case, Muni Patanjali is specifying that probably in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the Ishwar is not referring to a creator, a destroyer or a protector. Rather, it is referring to a very special case of the Purusha. Now, as we've learned in previous sutras, the Purusha is that element inside each of us, which is kind of like a witness principle. And we also understood this in Yoga Sutra 1.3. So this witness principle, which is in all of us, is different. So all of us, it's made of the same essence, but it's different and fits differently in each one of us. So now that we know this, we can understand that this element of Purusha does not have its own body. It borrows the body from Prakriti. This Purusha does not have its own personality. It does not have its own form. It does not have anything gross. It's a very subtle element and just exists plainly on its own. So now if we think of Ishwar as a very special type of Purusha, then of course Ishwar also does not have a form, does not have a body, and does not have its own personality or as such any qualities. So when you look at Ishwara in this way, you start to realize that, oh, it's a little bit different from our usual connotations of God and divinity, which we often give a form to. And since Ishwar is considered formless in this case at least, we have a few more different things associated with it. So this Ishwar does not get affected by any of the pain-causing elements called kleshas. It does not store any karmas, which is pretty obvious because it doesn't have a body, it doesn't have a personality. It has nothing gross through which it can act and through which it can carry on the karmic process. And also it doesn't have any effect or maturity of this karma because it hasn't collected any karmas to begin with. So this is a very special type of Purusha, as we can see, which is not affected by karma, not affected by kleshas, is not even creating new karmas. And so it is something that Muni Patanjali explains to us is the highest state, something that probably we can aspire towards at a later stage. And so this form of Ishwar is what Muni Patanjali wants us to deeply understand so that we can differentiate from the connotation of God and see this Ishwar in a slightly different light. Now again, from personal experience, I will say that it's very difficult to dissociate Ishwar and God. The minute we say Ishwar, since it's also a Hindi word that we commonly use, we immediately think of God or some form of the creator or the divine. And now that Patanjali is telling us that we have to look at that meaning differently, it is a bit challenging and it is a bit tricky. But the way I remember it for my teaching and my purposes is I just think of Purusha as somebody that does just not have any karma, and because of that is freed from the karmic sanskaras and having to constantly be entangled in any type of birth and death. I think what differentiates Purusha and Ishwara is that Purusha has to keep getting fit into new bodies and keep taking different lives because it has to continue its karmic maturity, whereas the Ishwara does not have to do that, and that's why it's a very special type of Purusha. Also, as we mentioned, Purusha Tattva exists in all of us. All of us have that witness principle. It's obviously in its individual capacity in you and me, but the element of Purusha is still the same. And so once we start to look at Ishwar as just an elevated version of the Purusha, it becomes easy to understand what Patanjali is trying to tell us about the concept of Ishwar. And in the upcoming sutras, we'll understand why this is being defined so differently from God or our usual connotations of divinity, and we'll also understand how to kind of remember Ishwar or bring the concept of Ishwar into our minds using certain sounds. So we will do that in the upcoming sutras. I hope this sutra has given you a basic understanding of what Muni Patanjali was trying to say through this sutra. If you found this video helpful, please do share it with your friends and family, especially those that are studying the Yoga Sutras or who are interested in yoga philosophy. Also, please do subscribe to our channel and help support us and encourage our channel even further. We hope that you take care of yourself, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video with a few more theories on Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Until then, take care and we'll see you real soon. Namaste.